Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Today we'll take a look at one of the best creature mods for the game, Alex's Mobs. This mod adds in 52 brand new creatures to your Minecraft world. Most of them are real world creatures like the gorilla, blobfish, and orca, which will be the category we take a look at first. Although the mod also adds in some very cool fantasy mobs. However, even with such a huge amount of mobs, none of them are purely aesthetic. They all serve some purpose, whether it be through their drops or some in-game mechanic. First, let's talk about the real world creatures. There are three categories of real world mobs: passive, which will not attack you even if you attack them; neutral, which will be passive until you attack them; and defensive, which aren't actively trying to hurt you, but will attack you if you invade their personal space. So first we'll talk about the passive mob. The first passive mob we have is the Roadrunner. This thing spawns in deserts and badlands. It will run around the desert rapidly, and it will attack and kill any rattlesnakes it finds. Tarantula Hawks are scared of Roadrunners. They drop feathers and Roadrunner feathers, and they can be bred with maggots. Then we have the Gazelle, which spawn in large herds in savannas. If one gazelle is attacked, the entire herd will flee. They are very fast and are able to outrun most predators that may attack them. They drop gazelle horns, and they can be bred with acacia blossoms. Then we have the Fly, which is found commonly in most biomes in the overworld. It is attracted to dead and dying things. It can be found chasing and biting zombies to within one heart. They drop maggots and can be bred with rotten flesh. If a fly somehow enters the nether, it will turn into a crimson mosquito. And we have the Hummingbird, which spawn in flower forests, sunflower plains, and jungles. They have three variants. They pollinate flowers even better than bees do, and they are the fastest mob in the mod. If you want to breed them, you can do so with flowers. Then we have the Blobfish, which spawn in deep oceans. They are naturally gray fish, however, they become pink blobs if they are under less than 10 blocks of water pressure. Right-clicking them with a slime ball allows them to survive on the land. They can be caught in a bucket if it's full of water, and they drop themselves when slain. Then we have the Seal, which spawn on beaches and icebergs. They often bask and will be found sleeping on sand or ice. They are very fast in water. They can outspeed most things except for orca whales. If one seal is attacked, the whole pod will try to flee to the water. If you feed a basking seal 3 fish, it will trade you something from the ocean. It can be bred with lobster tails. Then we have the Cockroach, which are found underground and they avoid light, including placed torches. They often produce Utica, which are egg cases filled with multiple roach nymphs. They can be fed bread or sugar to make them more comfortable around the player. They will eat any dropped food item. They can be covered with mimic cream from a mimic cube for a special texture. They have a natural fondness for maracas. Subscribe to the channel. They are the prey of cave centipedes, and when gravely injured, they can lose their head, although this doesn't seem to affect them very much. On death, they'll drop cockroach wing fragments. Then we have the Shoebill, which is a strange bird that spawns in swamps. They'll fly away when attacked. They spend their time fishing in the water, and will occasionally produce bycatch. They can be fed crocodile eggs to increase their lure, and blobfish to increase their luck. They cannot be bred by people as they are too afraid. However, they will attack baby crocodiles and turtles as they are part of their natural diet. Finally, for the real world passive mobs, we have the Mimic Octopus. This will spawn in warm oceans and can camouflage into their surroundings. They can be tamed with lobster tails and be commanded to stay, follow, or wander. On death, they'll drop ink sacs. They can follow you onto land, although they will need to be moisturized with slime balls to prevent from drying out. Right-clicking them with an ink sac will prevent them from changing color. You can feed it prismarine shards to make it look like a guardian. pufferfish to become a pufferfish, or gunpowder for a creeper. If it's fed mimic cream, it can mimic the attacks of the mobs it's turned into when it's defending itself or a player. Next we have the Seagull, which will spawn on beaches. It will steal food items if they are in your hand or even in your hotbar. It will pick up and eat food on the ground. It can steal or eat food once every 1 to 3 minutes. However, these birds aren't just pests. If you have a treasure map in your offhand and toss a lobster tail on the ground, the seagull will eat the lobster tail and then sit directly above the buried treasure, making it easier for you to find. They can be bred with raw cod and can be named Wingle for a special Easter egg skin. Next we'll get into the neutral real world mobs which won't attack unless provoked. First we have the Orca, which spawn in cold oceans. They are passive until damaged, at which point all nearby orcas will attack as well. They can jump out of the water to get to their prey and can even break through ice. When near an orca, players will rarely get the orca's might effect, which increases your attack speed. A full list of their prey is on the wiki. Then we have the gorilla, which spawn in jungles. Males are bigger and females are smaller but darker. If one is attacked, they will fight back and nearby gorillas will join in to help them. They can eat leaves to find bananas and restore their hit points. They can be tamed by dropping bananas near them. When they're tamed, they'll defend you. You can order them to stay or wander, but they can't follow you. They can be named Donkey Kong, DK, Harambe, or Funky Kong to get special Easter egg textures. Then we have the Lobster, which spawn underwater in beach biomes. They are normally red but can be blue, half red, yellow, or super rarely black or white. They will attack via pinching. Then we have the Hammerhead shark, which spawns in warm oceans. It will target creatures below half health as well as tropical fish and squids. It will circle their prey to scope them out, and a hammerhead may sometimes lose a tooth when attacking a prey. Then we have the Capuchin monkeys, which spawn in jungles. They can be fed bananas to tame them. When they're tamed, they can follow, stay, and wander, and they're also able to use ranged and melee attacks to defend their owner. They can be put on their owner's shoulders while they'll throw stones at targets. They can be fed eggs to heal them. They can be bred with maggots, and they'll sometimes drop a banana peel when eating a banana. Then we have the moose, which spawn in snowy tundras and snowy taigas. They are very dangerous if attacked. They will often tussle with other moose for dominance. Every 7 to 10 days, moose have a chance to drop one of their rare, giant antlers, and they will take 3 to 5 in-game days to regrow said antlers. They will naturally defend their young from predators, and they can be bred with dandelions. It can also get snow on their back during a snowstorm or by covering it with a snow layer. This is removable with a shovel. The snow, if not placed by a player, will melt if in water, rain, or a hot biome. Then we have the raccoon, which spawn in plains and forests. They will beg for food if a player is holding it in their hand. They will often steal from chests and barrels. If the raccoon is given food and it's nearby water, it will wash it underwater before eating the food. You can tame a raccoon by giving it a chicken egg near water. The raccoon will wash it, eat it, and then have a chance to become tamed. They can be made to sit, follow, or wander. They can be bred with bread, and on death they have a chance to drop their raccoon tails. Raccoons can be given colored bandanas with carpets. These are removable with shears. They will also occasionally steal from villagers. Then we have the elephant. These guys spawn in savannas, and they have 3 variants. They can be tusked, non-tusked, or calves. A tusked elephant will attack any player that attacks the herd. If a player feeds a non-tusked elephant or calf an acacia blossom, it can be tamed. Tusked elephants can only be tamed when they are calves. They will attack with their trunk and by stomping on their enemy. They will stand up and tear leaves off trees to find acacia blossoms. Tamed elephants can be ridden, have chests placed on them for storage, and have carpets placed on them for decoration. These can be removed with shears. If you right-click an elephant with a green carpet, it will gain shades. Feeding a tamed tusked elephant wheat while riding it will make it do a charge attack, which will hit any mobs in its path. Tamed elephants can be bred with acacia blossoms, and occasionally, wandering traders in warm biomes will ride elephants. I cannot personally find this, but here is a picture of what it would look like. Then we have the snow leopard, which spawn in snowy mountainous areas. Their favorite prey are sheep. They will arch their back before leaping at their prey, and they can also use their claws for close combat. Their kills often yield extra drops. They cannot be tamed but can be bred with moose ribs. Next is the crow, which spawn in forests and plains. They will circle fields and damage crops. Carved pumpkins are enough to scare away any crows from a small field. When approached, the group of crows will scatter and fly away. They can be tamed by throwing them pumpkin seeds. When tamed, they can be made to sit, wander, follow, or gather items. When it picks up an item, when told to pick up items, it will look for a container nearby with an item frame on it that matches the item they've picked up. When it's set to follow, it will fly around their owner for a bit and then land on their shoulder. You can remove them via sneaking. They will peck at things that attack their owner, and their pecks do extra damage to the undead. Then we have the Mantis Shrimp, which spawn in the reefs of warm oceans. They have 3 color variants. They have strong fists that launch enemies back and can even break through blocks. They are the predators of tropical fish, squid, guardians, and shulkers. They can be tamed by feeding them 10 to 30 tropical fish. If they are out of water for more than 5 minutes, it will begin to dry out. However, this can be prevented by giving a tamed mantis shrimp a water bucket while sneaking. Tamed mantis shrimps can follow, sit, wander, or break blocks. If you sneak right-click a mantis shrimp while holding a block, the shrimp will seek out and break any blocks matching the one it holds. They can be healed with fish, and they can be bred with lobster tails. Then we have the emu, which spawn in badlands and savannas. They can have blue throats, white throats, or be albino. When attacked, they will initially flee, however some will return to rip and tear at their prey. They dislike bows and will sometimes attack skeletons. They can be bred with wheat, and they will sometimes lay large blue eggs that can be used to hatch baby emus. They will drop emu feathers on death. Then we have the Tasmanian Devil, which spawn in temperate forest biomes. They will sit and bask in groups. When they attack rabbits or chickens, all nearby Tasmanian Devils will join in. If they are fed rotten flesh, they will unleash a howl that scares away all nearby monsters for a short time. They cannot be tamed but can be bred with any kind of meat. Next is the kangaroo, which spawn in savannas and badlands. They can be tamed when you give it a carrot. They can be bred if fed dead bushes. When fighting a mob, the kangaroo will help you fight. You can right-click it to tell it to stay, wander, or follow, and you can shift right-click to open its inventory. You can give it a chestplate, helmet, and sword. They will use these helmet, chestplate, and sword when fighting for extra armor and attack damage. If you give it a carrot, it will eat the carrot to regen its HP. Then we have the Cachalot Whale, which spawn in lukewarm, cold, and deep oceans. They will hunt squid with echolocation. When a squid is found, it will speed up and open its mouth and ram into its prey. It may drop a tooth during this process. It can break ice when moving and boats and other wood when charging. Rarely, albino whales can be found, which are much stronger than these other whales. Orca whales love to eat baby cachalots, and during thunderstorms they may spawn washed up on beaches. If you push it back into the water without hurting it, they will have a chance to reward their saviors with ambergris. Then we have the Leafcutter Ant, which spawn in jungle biomes in colonies of up to 20. Workers harvest leaves and are visible outside the anthill. The queen can only be summoned by stomping on the hill. Queens are much larger and stronger, and there's usually only one per colony. If a queen has less than 10 ants and there's a queen present, there is a chance for every 5 leaves harvested to create another worker ant. Under the mound is a network of leafcutter ant chambers, which ants use to convert their leaves to fungi. The fungi is called Gonglidia and is the only things the ants will farm and eat. You can eat it for lots of saturation. It can be obtained by right-clicking a fungal covered chamber block, but ants will become hostile during this process unless there is a shroom light nearby. You can feed this to ants to heal them, and to the queen to increase the number of ants in a colony. It can be fed to an ant to pacify all the ants in a nearby area. If a chamber block is broken, there is a rare chance of it dropping a leafcutter ant pupa, which can be used on dirt or grass to create a brand new colony. Next is the bald eagle, which spawns in wooded mountain biome. It will dive and grab salmon out of nearby lakes, and they'll also attack rabbits. When attacking larger creatures, it will prefer to circle, slash with them with its talons, and then repeat this process. It can be lured and tamed with fish oil. When a falconry glove is held in the player's main or offhand, the glove can be used to pick up eagles. To launch an eagle, simply punch, and if an eagle is launched when staring at a mob, the eagle will fly to it, attack it, and return if it survives. If you give an eagle a falconry hood, the eagle will obey the direct command of its owner. If it flies over 150 blocks, it will attempt to return. You can also sneak to stop controlling the eagle, and the hood is removable with shears. It can be healed with fish and bred with rotten flesh. Then we have the Tarantula Hawk, which spawn in deserts. These guys love to attack spiders. They will swoop in to sting the spider, then fly around when it is completely immobilized, drag it away, and bury it underground. It will inflict a debilitating sting effect, which paralyzes arthropods and damages non-arthropods until they are at half HP. They can be tamed by feeding them 15 to 25 spider eyes. 2 tamed Tarantula Hawks can be bred if fed fermented spider eyes. When bred, wasps will seek out a spider and lay a baby in its carcass. They can be healed with flowers, and they drop tattered Tarantula Hawk wings on death. The Tarantula Hawk has a nether variant. Finally, for the neutral mobs, we have the Frilled Shark. These spawn in deep oceans. They will hunt for blobfish and squid by luring them in with their reflective teeth. It uses its serrated teeth to apply the exsanguination effect, which will rapidly drain health. It may lose a tooth while attacking, and it can be placed in a bucket of water. If it is under 10 blocks of water pressure, it will be slower and discolored. If you name a frilled shark Kamata-kun, it will gain a special Easter egg skin. Finally, for the real world mobs, we'll talk about defensive mobs, which will attack if approached. First, we have the Komodo Dragon, which spawn in Badlands. These guys are hostile to players, most passive animals, and baby or weakened Komodo dragons. They can be tamed by feeding them an entire stack of rotten flesh. They can then be ridden and will fight for the player. However, when attacking prey, a tamed Komodo dragon will completely ignore all commands from its owner, even if it's being ridden. Then we have the tiger. These will spawn in and around bamboo jungles. They will attack if approached. They can leap from many blocks away to crush their prey and can slash with their claws. They can become nearly invisible when stalking prey from afar, save but for their eyes. Their prey are frozen in fear for a few seconds when they spot the tiger. If fed pork chops or chicken or any fresh meat, one can get the tiger's blessing effect, which will allow you to approach tigers without being mauled. When you have this, they will also help you if you are being attacked. They can be bred with acacia blossoms, and there is a rare chance for an albino tiger. Then we have the grizzly bear, which spawn in forests. They will attack if a player gets close to it or its cubs. It will also attack wolves and foxes. These guys are immune to knockback. They will drop a single hair of bear every 1 to 2 in-game days, or 0 to 2 when killed. They can be tamed. To do this, you must first throw a honeycomb on the ground. This will make the bear become neutral to you, and then you can feed it salmon to actually tame it. These guys will sit, wander, or follow, and they can be ridden without even needing a saddle. They will defend players from attackers and attack what the player attacks. The same snow that applies to the moose can also be used for the grizzly bear. Then we have the rattlesnake, which spawn in deserts and badlands. They produce a loud rattle when a potential predator is nearby. If someone gets too close to a rattler when it's rattling, it will become hostile. It has a chance to drop its rattle when slain. Then we have the alligator snapping turtle, which spawn in swamps. They will attack anything that steps near it, and they will sometimes be mossy. They can then be sheared for a chance to drop a spiked scute. Then we have the crocodile, which spawns in rivers and swamps as well as rarely elsewhere in the overworld. It will lunge toward its prey, grabbing it and pulling it underwater for a devastating death roll attack. It can be bred with rotten flesh and will then lay eggs on land. If the eggs are damaged, the parents will become aggressive. Baby crocodiles can imprint on the nearest players. They will defend their birth area from monsters, and right-clicking it will make it stay still and bask. Crocodile scutes are dropped when a crocodile becomes an adult or on death. The crocodile can get stunned if it attacks you while you have a shield held up. Finally, for the defensive mobs, we have the platypus, which are rarely found in rivers in the overworld. They will inflict poison onto their attackers. They have weak senses of smell, hearing, and eyesight, so it will instead use electricity to hunt and navigate. It is naturally attracted to held redstone. If one is fed redstone, the electricity sensitivity will recharge and will look for maggots in nearby clay blocks. When looking for food, a platypus will dig up several clay balls as well as maggots. If a platypus is fed an entire redstone block, the amount of dug items will greatly increase. They can be transported in water buckets, bred with lobster tails, and named Perry for a special Easter egg skin. This mod also adds in several fantasy mobs that don't exist in real life, such as the curious Mungus or the terrifying void worm boss. There are also a few passive fantasy mobs added by this mod that will not attack you. The first of which is the Endergrade. This will spawn in the End Islands biome. They eat chorus fruit. They are rideable with a saddle and chorus fruit on a stick. They are breedable with chorus fruit. These guys are slow but are helpful to get around the End's treacherous terrain. Then we have the Spectre, which spawn in the void between End Islands. They can only be attacked with magic damage such as potions. They will follow players that hold soul hearts. You can attach a lead to them to rapidly traverse the end. This can be detached via sneaking or right-clicking the lead. Then we have the Mungus, which spawn in mushroom fields. They can spawn with up to 2 mushrooms on them, and if fed mushrooms, they will take root on the Mungus. If they have 5 mushrooms, they will fire a beam at nearby mushrooms of the same type, spawning more or converting it into giant mushrooms if on mycelium. This will use up some of the mushrooms on its back. If they are slain with 5 on their back, it will convert the local area with mushrooms on their back and transform the biome into mushroom fields if brown or red mushrooms, or a warped forest if it has warped mushrooms. If you feed a Mungus a poisoned potato, the sack on its back will explode and remove the transformed biome. They can be bred with mushroom stew and can be named Drip to gain some pretty cool sneakers. Finally, we have the Stradpole, which spawn in the lava pool of the basalt delta in the nether, or as a projectile of the Straddler. You can use a lava bucket to transport it as a bucket of Stradpole. They live naturally in lava, but can also live in water. Stradpoles can be right-clicked with a crimson mosquito larva to become a Straddler. Next, there are currently 2 neutral fantasy mobs that won't attack you unless you attack them. The first of which is the Warped Toad. This spawns in the warped forest of the nether. They are covered with glowing shroom-like fungus. It is a skilled swimmer in both lava and water. Its favorite prey are flies and crimson mosquitoes. It is tameable with crimson mosquito larvae, as well as breedable with the same item. When tamed, it can wander, stay, or follow, and it will defend its owner from attackers. It will drop shroom-like fungus on death, and if you name it Pepe, it will gain a custom skin. The last neutral fantasy mob is the Enderiophage. These spawn in the End Highlands. They will attack you but will keep you at 1 health. They will fight Endergrades and Endermen. When it catches its target, it will steal their energy, and on every hit has a chance to give you the Ender Flu effect. When you kill one of these, they will drop the Capsid. The Enderiophage has Overworld and Nether variants. Next we have defensive mobs, and there's only really one that sort of qualifies as defensive. This is the Sunbird. It will rarely spawn on mountains. It is completely immune to all fire damage. If you bump into it with an elytra, it will give you the Sunbird's Blessing effect, which will give you a great boost in your flight ability. However, if you hit it, it will give you the Sunbird's Curse, where your elytra will stop, you fall rapidly to the ground, and you'll take increased fall damage. This can be dangerous if you're flying above water, as it might cause you to drown. When flying above an undead mob, it will be set on fire even if it is nighttime. They will fly around active beacons and give the beacon the Sunbird's Blessing effect. Next, the majority of the fantasy mobs are hostile, meaning they'll actively seek you out and try and kill you. First off, we have the Bone Serpent, which spawns in the deep lava lakes of the Nether. They have one head segment, 8 body segments, and 1 tail segment. They will jump in and out of lava. They are hostile to players as well as wither skeletons. They will leap out of the lava and crush its prey beneath its body. When slain, it will explode into piles of bones and has a chance to drop one of its teeth. This tooth can then be used to create a potion of lava vision, which allows you to see through lava better. Next is the Crimson Mosquito, which spawn in crimson forests. They will latch onto prey, sucking their blood. It will fly off and then use its prey's blood as a projectile back at it. If slain after engorged with blood, it can drop a blood sac. It also has a chance to drop its proboscis. Flies will turn into crimson mosquitoes if in the Nether. Then we have the Cave Centipede, which spawn in caves in all biomes. They will eat cockroaches and inflict poison on hits. They will drop cave centipede legs when slain. Then we have the Mimicube, which spawn near end cities. These strange creatures will attempt to mimic the weapons and armor of their attacker. They can learn to use shields, crossbows, swords, bows, trident, foods, etc. This can make for a pretty challenging fight. If you show up with a lot of gear on, the Mimicube will use that same gear when fighting against you. On death, they will drop Mimicrene. Then we have the Soul Vulture, which spawn in the Nether and Soul Sand valleys. They will circle the giant skeletons that generate throughout the biome. They will launch a health-stealing assault on explorers, where they can sap HP up to 5 times from their prey. If slain afterwards, they can drop a soul-infused heart. They are the natural enemies of piglins and are frequent prey for bone serpents. Then we have the Guster, which spawn in deserts during thunderstorms. They use sand as a short-distance projectile, and if an entity gets too close, it will carry it and eject it like a tornado. They will drop sand on death and rarely a Guster eye. The Guster has biome variants with red sand as well as soul sand.
Gusters can be named Twister for a special Easter egg skin.
Then we have the Warped Mosco, which is a mini-boss version of a Crimson Mosquito that appears if a Crimson Mosquito sucks the blood of a Mungus covered in warped fungus. This is a pretty challenging fight. These guys are covered in hemolymph sacs and have many different attacks. It has a simple punch, a slam attack, an attack will pick up the target, then use its proboscis to drain the victim's blood. This will also heal the Mosco. And then it also will fly around and shoot a ranged hemolymph spitting attack. On death, it will drop the hemolymph sac as well as warped muscles. Then we have the Stradpole, which spawned in the basalt delta of the Nether. They will use the Stradpole as a medium distance projectile. It will try and stay at a distance, and on death, it will drop basalt and sometimes stradolites. Finally, for the hostile mobs, we have the Drop Bear. These spawn in Nether wastes. They will hang upside down from the Nether ceiling, waiting for prey to walk beneath it. They will then leap from its position and crush its target beneath it. It will use its huge jaws and sharp claws to attack. If it successfully defeats its target, it will leap back up to the Nether ceiling to wait for more prey. On death, it will drop a Drop Bear Claw. There is one boss added so far by Alex's Mobs, and it is the mysterious Void Worm. This terrifying creature is an ancient being that lays in the void beneath the end, and it is thought to be some sort of interdimensional parasite due to their ability to cleave through reality. This is one of my favorite bosses I've ever seen, with a fantastic design, fluid movement, and a genuinely difficult and fun fight. The Void Worm can be spawned by dropping a mysterious worm into the void of the end. This worm is created by placing a Crimson Mosquito larvae into a capsid. It will attack you by shooting off 4 green crystals that home in on the player. It can also ram into the player, dealing considerable knockback, which is pretty scary if you're fighting in the end. It will summon portals, letting it teleport beneath places. These portals can also be entered by players. If a body segment is severely damaged, it will stop glowing, and if fully destroyed, the worm will split into 2. The split worms will have half the HP and be a bit slower, but will still deal significant damage. On death, it will drop 2 void worm mandibles and a void worm eye. The mandibles can be crafted into a void worm beak, which snaps open and closed if powered by redstone and will damage mobs. It can also be used for a dimensional carver, which is a 20-use pickaxe, which can create a portal between the overworld and the end. And that is all the mods currently added by the Alex's Mobs mod. This mod is constantly getting updates, so make sure to stick around for future videos where we cover those, as well as the rest of the content added by the mod. Download link will be in the description, as well as the link to the wiki. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Peace out.